I would actually stick with Lilgun. I think they managed to get the draft that they enjoy playing. This is a draft they execute on really well. The mid matchup for Carl is not the easiest, and I can see Lilgun applying that pressure to secure the water runes, the power runes for Sanctity to slow down that storm. You've seen what happens when a storm is thrown off its pace. A 15-minute Kaya just doesn't feel great compared to 12 minutes, so a 3-minute delay just from losing runes is going to hurt that pacing there for Carl, and I think Lilgun's just going to be able to get what they want here.
Yeah, I suppose I shouldn't have bothered switching to the game, eh, John? So we immediately get 3 disconnects as we get into the game. I suppose it's going to be one of those nights, I'm guessing.
Bro, it's mine.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I've been disconnecting as well, just from draft. It's been kicking me out. I don't know. When my draft screen is paused, I know I'm kind of disconnected. I reconnect, it fixes it, and then it just pauses. It just holds, so I'm forced to reconnect, disconnect. It's kind of annoying. It looks like maybe too many people are playing Dota, which is good news. Hopefully that's the issue, because if it's just randomly dying, then, well, you know, what can you do, Mike?
Yeah, I suppose so. How many people are getting randomly... Oh! Okay, so is this a new bug, per se? I mean, you're saying it's internet. It is kind of weird that all three players just disconnected. Ace12 saying the same thing. And yeah, T1's just saying we just got kicked out. So they did not disconnect due to lag issues or ping. They did just get completely kicked. Bit risky to try, I'd say. I mean, yeah, I mean, Dougie's not going to waste any time. He's going straight for the rehost, and I kind of agree with that, because if you risk carrying on and the same thing keeps happening, then, you know, the game one could be ruined for either side. As Cuckoo, not sure what he's trying to get done here. Cuckoo, please, sir, be very careful what you type into the old chat.
All right, I mean, we've got the go-ahead to rehost. No one's leaving yet, so it's the good old disconnect standoff. Who's gonna cave in first? Well, let's see what happens. Dicky has given the call out, but yeah, no one's left, Mike. Unless I'm also just not seeing updates anymore.
No, they're there. They're talking. I mean, you can see them all chatting, right?
Yeah, I can see that. The voice lines are coming through. The pincer's out. Doom face is there. All right, so we're just
sitting
waiting
here.
longer, I guess. Yeah, that's cool, Mike. That's cool. How was your day, Mike? You know, last night we were talking about sounds on the ceiling. What's up today, Mike?
I mean, the sounds are still here. The thing is, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, John, but the sounds come at night for some reason. So whatever's in this damn roof is only comfortable coming out at night. So the sad reality is, John, outside of my little office part, I don't have any lights outside that door. So as soon as I walk out of this office, it's pitch black, and I can't see what the hell it is that's crawling around up there. So I suppose we'll find out, you know, if it just drops down and wants to say hello. You know, I'll give you an update, John, if I survive through the night, if I make it out.
All right, fair enough. Hopefully you will make it through, Mike. I believe Dougie has actually rehosted the lobby.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna tell the players rehosted. Yeah, okay, there they go. There you go. And we all have to disconnect now.
I'll switch us to the cameras again. There we are. Everyone loves looking at
Hello.
us as you. There you go. Hello, John. All right, ladies and gentlemen. One second. We'll keep you guys updated. Don't you worry. We're going to try and get back into this game number 1 ASAP. We're just trying to make sure that we're not going to have a game full of just disconnections over and over again. How's your day been, John? I didn't get to ask you today. How's your day?
It's all right. For some reason, I woke up with, you know the pain at the back of your head when you've been beaten up. For some reason, I woke up with that at the back of my head and was like, I don't remember getting beaten up last night, and I'm just at home. So I took some pain relievers just to work it out. It's all right, Mike. I had a good lunch. I'm kind of sorted out after. It's just weird. It may be while I'm sleeping, I'm just filled with such inherent self-hatred that I bang my head against the wall while I'm unconscious. That could be one thing, but I can't verify that because I don't remember my dreams. So maybe all of those hints, those little context clues, are telling me that unconsciously at night in that very bed, Mike, I just hit my head against the wall, and that's not healthy. So maybe I need some help, Mike.
Maybe you do. I mean, I'm pretty sure you do, to be fair. By the way, to answer your previous question, no, I don't know what it feels like to get beaten up because I'm undefeated in life, Jonathan. Undefeated, never beaten. Well, no, I do know what it feels like, though. All jokes aside, I've been beaten up many times, John. It's not very fun. I hope your head feels better very, very soon, as What's the update? Have we got the go ahead? Are we waiting
We
for
are-
the casters? Of course
Yes,
we
we're
are.
waiting for the cast. It looks like Dougie's giving the go ahead, so we are in and we're gonna be launching soon. Hopefully our lobby holds up. That was quite the way to start it off. I don't know, Mike. Before we went live, so we were loading in. I saw the first bans. I heard a voice go, and then I got kicked.
Right.
So for me, it was from minute 0 that the lobbies were on and off, and I asked in all chat, did we all disconnect? And the Lilgun fellas told me, yep, we all disconnected. So it's like, all right, and hopefully this sorts it out. Yes, we do see the picks coming through, so this will sort itself out, Mike. Looks like Dougie has found a fix. That's why he's best admin, isn't he?
That's right. Number 1 admin Dougie, no messing around, tells all the players to get the hell out of his damn lobby and creates a new one and has found the answer to the problem. So very, very good news here, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going through the pick phase right now. No real point in me throwing it back to the pick phase, I'm sure, John. It's a bit unnecessary. We'll wait for the game to start and we'll head right back into it. You did say that you had a lot of faith in Lilgun's draft this game, number 1, John. Even if it does look like a bit of a weird draft, it is comfort heroes for Lilgun, and that does inspire confidence in you. Do you like T1's draft, though? Do you think it's a solid draft here from T1? Do you see any openings or holes that Lilgun can kind of try to break open here?
Yeah, I think for T1, there's a bit of a lack of team fight. They only really have exorcism. They don't have the best area control. Now, the same could be said for Lilgun, as their only AoE holds really Cookie stun coming through, maybe a good charge lined up, so even their control and wide AoE is limited, but they can run and gun a lot faster compared to T1. T1's got the Roar, T1's got the Storm. I think the big issue for Lilgun in this game is going to be Carl. They have to emphasize that mid. They've got to ensure that once more they're going to contest the water runes, prevent the bottle refills, and slow down Carl's timing. We've seen what happens to Storm when the game for them is slowing down. They get a 15-minute Kaya. It just feels pretty darn slow. The scaling gets thrown off. You've got to eat farm away from your safe laner. So I think if Lilgun does manage to do that to Carl, they won't have the issues down the line of control. And that's where they need to focus on. And with Sanctity's OD, that lane's already pretty challenging for Carl. Again, he can look to pressure at level 3 with Electric Vortex and Overload up, but it's hard to do that against OD with the Astral. So it's all down to Sanctity, how aggressive he wants to push, and how much 11 and his supports want to go down mid to help Sanctity out.
Well, Kishka, he's going to find the Observe Ward behind that tree. I'm sure they'll get a D Ward off very soon. The T1, highly doubt they want to go for a level 1 team fight, as it is going to be quite scary into the draft of Lilgun. Just secure those bottom bounty runes, but there might be a bit of a contest now because 423 is moving in and he does have those wolves up. They all have a laugh about it, but it'll be a 2 for 2 on the bounties, nothing too special. And we'll start off with the bot lane today, John. Cuckoo there on the Beastmaster, going to be there with Zephyr on that position for Death Prophet. They're going to be up against 423 on that position 1 Lycan. And you also have Ace 12 on the Grimstroke. Talk to me about hero matchups, John. Do you give advantage to one or the other side?
It's still an annoying lane for the Lycan. You're up against the Boars, but you've got the Wolves. So this is a bit of a zoo fight, isn't it, Mike? And this is not something you see too often, although Cuckoo does go for the Wild Axes level 1. I think he realizes he wants to clear out those Wolves a lot faster. He wants to prevent any sort of farming trade that favors the Lycan. So he's just going to pressure early on with some Wild Axes coming through. Zephyr's got his work cut out for him. There's not much control coming out from the DP, and you can already see the micro from 423 to get the Wolves onto that Prophet to apply some early pressure on that creep damage he can do if he does opt for the Crypt Swarm. Spike for T1 here is going to be level 3. Level 2 Spirit Siphons when Zephyr can really put some work in, but at the same time, if Ace 12 gets that level 2 Inkswell, the Wolves will start to be a problem. So it's a back and forth lane, and this is probably going to be one of the more aggressive lanes in this game early on, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, we'll have a look at the mid lane as well. You've got Carl there against Sanctity. This is interesting because you don't get to see OD make it through the draft, or rather ban phase, many times. So OD against Storm, John. I would assume it should favor the OD, especially once you hit that level 3, level 4 mark. Do you disagree? In fact, hold that thought, because top lane, Whitemon's going to find himself in trouble. Almost going to go down, but they could not get a lucky bash going there for 11, so it looks like Whitemon is going to be able to salve up. But back to that mid lane, John. Do you think Carl has a way of fighting back here, or do you think Sanctity should have a pretty big advantage?
I think Sanctity already set himself up nicely here. Carl is still finding some pretty decent farm, but he's got the level 3 spike, you know, he's got the Vortex up, so he can play with a Remnant and the double overload you can get. And that's where it can get a bit shaky for the OD. He doesn't have massive range, and there you go. Carl's just looking to try apply that pressure. He's pretty low on mana though, so he can't do it more than once, and I think that's going to provide that relief to Sanctity. What is important are the runes. First water rune's not going to be contested, but the 4-minute mark, the 6-minute mark, you have to see something come out. Less important for the OD, much more important for the Storm there.
Gabby's getting bashed here by 11. Not very fun at all, as I suppose it's the last lane, John. You've got 11 and Kishka against Whitemon and Gabby. I was going to ask you about this lane, and I feel like Gabby should have a decent time, but it does seem like he is dropping rather low now. I suppose against the Spirit Breaker, you're never really safe, because if he does get lucky with that 17% bash, if he catches Gabby off guard, not strength morphing, it could be very problematic here for T1.
Yeah, you've got to kind of balance yourself here for Gabby. You don't have the best like sustain lane for the Morphling. You know, it's not like you have an Abaddon or NT to heal you up while you're low on HP. So Whitemon's just going to have to do it the good old-fashioned way. Put his body forward, cop all the damage out from Kishka and 11, and if he dies for the cost, that's fine. But as you scale up here, and you're looking at multiple stuns in that lane coming out from Lilgun. Cookie's up, they've got the charge, they've got the level 2 bash, they can easily overwhelm Gabby if he does overstep, so he's got to be a bit more cautious, and he is keeping up fine in farm. 11-2, it's not the most overwhelming start, but it seems like both for safe laners are kind of just getting what they can find, not willing to really trade too much ground, and I think that's going to favor Lilgun overall, as once you hit that jungle time, and once you hit the Dominator, the Lycan's just going to have that early spike point.
Carl going after Sanctity, but is going to have to back off. Doesn't want to dive that tier 1 tower yet, especially into the OD, but Carl's doing a great job of really harassing Sanctity out, and Carl is still ahead in CS as now he gets even more aggressive. Just trying to give it the way of the OD before that Meteor Hammer does come up, and well, there's a Vortex out. Carl going to try and go for the kill attempt, but couldn't get the Vortex, or rather the Static Remnant to land. Still, bot lane, looks like Zephyr's going to be in a bit of danger now as Ace 12 and the Wolves will chase him down. And with that Wolves movement speed, they might just have him, but Zephyr, he's going to salve up. He'll pick up a water rune for himself. Still, the Wolves will chase with the Stroke of Fate to follow up. Zephyr is still trying to get towards that mid-tier 1 tower. Carl even not really helping out Zephyr, just leaving him to deal with this all alone. And Zephyr's going to die. 4-2-3 to take the kill. Carl, he's still dealing with Sanctity right now, but you know, I feel like if I was Zephyr right there, John, I'd be a little bit upset. I feel like Carl could have, you know, came and helped out a little bit.
Yeah, but the creep wave is shoved out. You know, you're a mid player, you want to get your farm, you don't care if your support dies. First blood is a pretty big bonus. I think for Carl, he sees that as an opportunity to get a little bit of a TP
of course
play.
he did.
He gets his boots, gets his refill, and he's happy.
The top lane, Kishka does go down 11, dropping quite low himself as Whitemon was trying to get the body block off, but could not get in front of the SB. But I did forget about that point, John, and Carl probably did that on purpose so he can get the free bottle refill, so Carl's a very happy man at the moment, and I suppose he is doing a fantastic job right now. I mean, Sanctity is still set, rather 6 CS behind him at the moment. And I've got to say, I was expecting a bit more pressure here from Sanctity. And I realize he's going to feel strongest once the Meteor Hammer is available, but even before that, I thought he'd be able to slow down Carl a lot better than what he has.
Yeah, and he's going to lose that Meteor Hammer timing as well. He loses his courier, so that's delayed by an entire minute and a half. Good play from Whitemon to scout out with the ward he has in the cliff. And you're already throwing off that OD's timing. We're not seeing Lilgun actually rotate towards mid, play with stuns, play with the Astral Orb setup, even early on. I think you had a lot of potential of pinning down the Storm pre-6. Now, Carl's level 6, he's got a good amount of CS behind him, good amount of farm. His timing's not going to be delayed, and for T1, that just means their momentum from mid is going to carry through. We're not going to see delayed item timings in the Storm. His Kai is going to be on point, and he's just going to be able to get his rotations and get the kills he needs for the team.
Ace 12. It's going to be fine. Zephyr, Carl, they're going to zip it. They want the big one. They want that Lycan kill. So 4-2-3. He's going to try to run, and he's actually quite tanky. He survived for now, but Zephyr is going right in for the chase and does secure the kill. The Sanctity now is going to try and trade by killing off Cuckoo. It's still going to be very worthwhile here for T1, regardless of whether they get this Beastmaster or not. And in the end, Ace 12 will be able to take it anyway on the Grimstroke, but I'd still call that a win for the side of T1.
Yeah, it forces Sanctity to leave his lane, and it's giving Carl the snowball start he needs. He doesn't really get that kill, but they slow down the Lycan start, you know, preventing him from just locking in the lane, getting the Dominator off, and start getting that push going. And that just relieves some of that pressure from T1. Still a very even game so far to Mike. 2-2-2, 1k lead out for Lilgun. They're making work happen up top. They're still keeping Gabby pinned down. He's not farming as well as you'd want solo. I think that's where that kill threat comes out with the chain stuns coming true from Lilgun. Whitemon just can't do much to alleviate that, so he's much better off trying to get some rotations off. Lilgun do manage to at least try to spot out some of the jungle being built up. Not much really being invested there from T1 so far, but they are inching towards that point here on T1 where they're going to be feeling comfy. And Cuckoo's flying out as Dominator now. That lines up with her Lycan's timing as well.
I think 11's gone too far here. He tried to charge onto Gabby, but Gabby's going to punish him for this. Scatterblast is going to slow Gabby down, but he finds 11 exactly where he's trying to go for the TP play. Still juking 11. Surely doesn't make it out of this. He's going to charge away now. I can't believe he got away. The Ignite is going to land, and that should be enough. He can't escape this one. He's gone. He will be able to at least buy out before he does die, though.
Yeah. They look like he might have been able to run away if he just juked a little bit harder. He used a TP maybe slightly too early, gets punished for it. Good moving out from T1, and that is a core kill for their troubles. And every single time you kind of pin that Spirit Breaker up top, he's not rotating mid. Again, relieving some of that pressure that Lilgun wants to bring out early on with the aggression that they're known for. So they're not able to pin down Carl because of how the Spirit Breaker lane is going. They're not really able to use their momentum with this Dominator on 4-2-3 down bot just yet, and that is going to match the Dominator from Cuckoo once more, so it's just a matter of who gets the better creep in the large cam. And so far, Cuckoo's got control in that area.
That he does. Lilgun trying to fight back, but it's a little bit rough for them right now, and I feel like it does go back to the draft. Like, the Lycan, it might pay off a little bit later on, but for now, it just feels like it does nothing. T1, they have grouped up as 3, maybe going for a T1 tower push very soon. At least prepping for that 10-minute siege creep to come out. Cuckoo's certainly doing a great job of just controlling this farming area, though, as Ace12 going to try and intercept now, and I suppose it's the war of the Helm of the Dominators between these two. It's 4-2-3, going to walk away with his own tomato, and Cuckoo, he doesn't have one yet, but I'm sure he'll find a tomato very soon. Meanwhile, all this time is allowing Carl to just keep farming up on this storm. Mind you, he has fallen behind the OD now. So I think just realizing that with the Meteor Hammer up, he cannot lane against the OD any longer. He'd rather just take the jungle farm instead, and I suppose that does work out just fine as well. It's a little bit slower than a creep wave, but what are you going to do? You'd rather survive through all this.
Yeah, just want to get that initial build-up, and I think so far we're not seeing, again, the early plays from Lilgun with just this item up. They will try to make something happen now, though.
Now they will. Meteor Hammer, though, going to be cancelled off as Carl does make the jump in and needs to zip right back out. Whitemon's going to back. In fact, in the meantime, Gabby drops to 11. A solo kill here from the Spirit Breaker is even down towards the bot lane. They were trying to go onto Cuckoo. Oh my, oh my. I mean, Ace12 went down to Cuckoo earlier on the Beastmaster, and Gabby just dies solo to the Breaker.
Yeah, that's not good news for T1. It's just 11 managed to find the angle, get the charge nether strike off, maybe get a couple of lucky bashes, and that's enough to pin down that Morphling. We talked about that in the laning phase, Mike. Just one set of lucky bashes is enough to pin down that Morphling, and Gabby's going to be hurting quite a fair bit here. Bottom network across all the cores. The T1's going to have to work hard to get that space going as we see the hammer drop by Sanctity. That Sanctity's clips ripping through the Ogre Magi. Big man differential there, so lots of damage for him, and this should allow them to maybe pressure that mid-tier 1. They're not grouping up the Lycan, though.
Top lane 11, going to be in a slight bit of bother as he does pop the bulldoze with the charge away, but Carl has enough. Very close, yet very far. 11 going to drop, but in the meantime, they are doing so much damage to this mid-tier 1 tower. This is that OD timing that you hate to go against if you are T1, and they've only got Zephyr there to try and defend this. So it's going to be pretty much impossible for Zephyr to get that done. As once that Meteor Hammer's back off cooldown, Sanctity's got that tier 1. And I suppose T1 have decided they can't defend it right now.
It's a pretty big tower to give, though. That's going to give Lilgun lots of momentum. It's going to allow them to go into that top jungle if they want to and start invading the farm that T1 wants to build up, especially for Gabby. Again, Gabby right now is not doing so well on his morph. His lane was pretty tough. He was left alone for a long time. I think the investment into Carl earlier on is a lot stronger, though. So you will sacrifice your Morphling's farm for the Storm to get that Kaya timing, but that should be paying itself off. Good scan does prevent Carl getting baited in by the regen, but look at the Lilgun's movement. They've got pretty good control over the triangle because of how defensive T1 has to go. They are getting a lot of good initial farm out for Sanctity, and he's just rushing towards the Blink BKB. So he just wants to be able to run around, initiate for his team, set up, and start to find those kills. And T1 has to be careful, because once that farm does flow in for Sanctity, they can get rolling, and they will go for a smoke play here.
See who Sanctity can find. I mean, you haven't got that blink up yet to really break the gap, but at the same time, they probably don't really need it right now on Sanctity. They have drawn a line down towards the bot T1 tower, and it is currently being taken by T1, so chances are you are probably going to find the whole side of T1 around that area right now, but well, Lilgun, they're not going to make their way over yet. Instead, maybe mid lane, they're going to find Carl. Have they timed it perfectly? Yeah, they have. Mortimer's Kisses to follow with the silence, and Carl showing into the mid lane by himself is going to get punished immediately by Lilgun.
Just hanging in the tree line, outside vision, getting the kill. T1, though, rotating in with that smoke after the T1 fell bot.
You want something more than Ace 12, though, but the Soulbind is going to fly in already. It's not a great start for T1 as the Inkswell. It does land on 3 targets, and now the just blow-up comes in. Meteor Hammer to drop. They've got the lockdown, and Zephyr's going to be the 3rd. What an Inkswell with the Lycan Wolf out from Lilgun. And John, even if they got Ace 12, it's just not the kill you're looking for right now for T1.
No, definitely not. And you're just seeing the power of that Soulbind combination with the Astral. Easy setup for a double Meteor Hammer out with your AoE stun and the cookie. It just leads to so much control, and T1 just lacks that. Their heroes just don't have that same presence in these big fights unless you're looking for solo pickoffs, and if they are, they need to get something bigger. 2 lives up on Sanctity, really quick rush to take with a Lycan up and running. Dominator, or Overlord, not too far off now for 4-2-3 as well, so even more push, even more aggression can come out here from Lilgun, and T1's just not ready for it. 5k behind already, massive lead for Lilgun at the 15-minute mark. Gabby's still trying to work towards his Lincolns first, and Carl still trying to find a space to get his Kaya-san job. It feels like there's not enough room to enable all of these heroes to farm. Only Cuckoo can really start running around here. And for T1, they're going to need a lot more vision to get that game going. They've got the Hawks, but look at the coverage from Lilgun. They're just covering that bot triangle. They're covering the top jungle. They've got a million sentries around to scout out for Hawks. They've just got such good control on the map to read T1's movements right now.
Top lane, they're thinking about jumping in on Kishka, but he's going to be able to back off the Sanctity. He's going to move in again onto Carl, but this time it could be bait as they will land the Meteor Hammer. Carl, he's going to be safe for now. Zephyr did get the silence off, but in the meantime, Whitemon, he is going to drop. And T1 still just unable to really fight back. As Cuckoo now will try to do something in his own jungle, but they found another target. Who's that? Who will they got this time around? It's going to be Carl again, but he zips away this time. Zephyr's going to tank the gank, but 11's going to find the target they wanted. Still a nice roll out from Cuckoo to save the day and allow Carl to get out of there. But they are still going to lose Zephyr. And they should also lose that top tier 2 tower. Eventually, that is.
There's just nothing to stop that push, and again, it just boils down to control. T1 just doesn't have enough once the side of Lilgun clumps up like that. Like, all you really have is, what, an AoE silence right now and roar. And that's just not enough control. They've also got the Fire Blast, but that's a level 1. Not the longest stun even scaling, and not too much damage. So tier 2 falls, outpost can be taken, but they're just going to focus on the objectives on Lilgun. They've got this massive push that can come out early. They know Roar is down. They know Exo is down with the respawn. Defensive tools for T1's gone.
Gabby! He's gonna go down again to 11 by himself. 11 solo killing off Gabby, and oh boy, I mean, I guess you've got the Shadow Blade up on the Spirit Breaker, so it is kind of hard for Gabby, but that is, again, very detrimental. Because Gabby's still trying to work on towards that Lincoln Sphere, but it's still a whiles off.
Yeah. And it just, there's not enough space to get farm for the Morphling and the Storm right now. Like, we're seeing Carl having to take a much more forward appearance in these fights. He does have the Kai up. That's a pretty decent spike for a Storm. He's got a lot of damage to pump out, but he needs the Sanj as well for that stat resist to make it harder to pin him down with that Astral and Meteor Hammer. Still, Lilgun just going for the push, going for another tier 2 tower, really looking to open up the high ground. They've still got 2 minutes on that Aegis for Sanctity. And they're also working towards this fast AC for 4-2-3, so everyone's going to be a lot harder to burst down once that's up. The damage coming through from the Lycan is going to grow substantially once that's up as well. And T1, all they can do is really try to clear out the creep wave.
Charge in. They've got Zephyr. Inkswell, though, not going to land. They will not commit. Very hard position to try and fight into here for Lilgun. They should already be very satisfied with that tier 2 mid tower dropping. I've got to say, I mean, I really like the way Lilgun's played this game. I mean, just using the Wolves to constantly get vision, allowing 11 to go for these very aggressive charges onto Gabby, who doesn't know it's coming, and the Inkswell's going to be there. 11, though, cannot go forward as Gabby did get the Strength Morph this time. Very quick reactions from the Morphling. Does save his life. Of course, he did have a sentry there as well to help out, but that's just going to keep happening every time Gabby shows on the map.
He can't really deal with going too far for the laning creeps now, just because of the constant threat from 11, and he's looking to go again. Oh my god, Gabby.
Oh, Lincoln Sphere came out in time. He got the Lincoln Sphere just in time to be able to avoid the Nether Strike, so maybe now he could finally punish 11 for all this movement, but 11's got another charge available by 11. Godspeed, sir. In fact, never mind, we're going back in. We want Zephyr, apparently. In fact, Gabby is going to show for a second, but is not within vision. Pings are out, though. We saw him for a second, but not enough time for them to really make the jump in. In the meantime, down at bot lane, they have found Sanctity, and that'll be a very nice pick off for T1 if they can secure it. But Sanctity, he's still fighting back, and he does have that Aegis up. As now 4-2-3 is going to try and catch somebody out to take someone down, but both TP in time. So T1, they get rid of the Aegis. They get everyone else scot-free. Lilgun, they've got to be very careful about these small maneuvers T1's making, as they could cause a comeback here for the Dire.
Yeah, and they're starting to use some of those hawk visions out from Cuckoo really well. Some good information for them to play with. They're going to go for the smoke play now. They've got Roar, they've got Exo, they can make a play here.
They're trying on a Gabby. Gabby, he'll go for the Strength Morph again, but he's dropping so low and he just can't survive through it. Meanwhile, 4-2-3, he got jump, but they can't finish him off in time. Roar's going to be there. They are still trying and will eventually get him, but now 11, a 3-man charge through on the hammer. It's going to be dropped by Sanctity. Onto Zephyr they go. That'll be the fourth to drop as Carl. He is the only survivor left. 4T1. It took them that long to kill off 4-2-3, John. You just can't drag it out that long. Not against a Spirit Breaker, not against an OD.
No, and the worst part is they actually jumped Sanctity first. He was the one that was kind of held with a Vortex. He has Astral. And it's hard to pin down the OD unless you have a Silence, and no one's really going for an Orchid. Certainly not Carl right now, as he does need a Sanj. So they're lacking, again, just follow-through control. If they were stacked on top of that OD, they might have been able to find that kill and change the course of that fight. But they shifted targets once the Astral Imprisonment came out, and I believe Cuckoo was just tracking a bit too far behind. Carl just zipped across from the triangle area. So that kind of super aggression from the Storm cost them a key kill and cost them that fight. T1, though, they've got some room to keep trying to farm up. If they can drag this on, at some point, you could argue that the Lycan and OD will peak out, especially once you see some BKBs fly through for T1. That is still a ways off. They're still 9k behind. But the thing now for T1 is just prevent the high ground siege. And in that aspect, Mike, they've done a great job. All these fights have been away from the towers. So their high ground has not melted yet. And that is stalling out Lilgun's progression for objectives. And that is allowing them to still find an opening, still find ways to build up and catch up. They will have to note that Roshan, though. It is about a minute away until we see the respawn. The Lilgun are in a much better position to take that Rosh. They do have the Hawks to scout out. I think once that respawn timer is off, Cuckoo's going to have to keep track of it, and they're going to have to force the issue at that Roshan, Mike. I mean, if they manage to get the Aegis and the Shard, that could be the turning point for T1.
Oh, 5-man smoke though, T1. They want to make it happen right now. Kishka, it'd be a decent start if they could pick him off, but they cannot quite yet. Seems like Lilgun are very well aware that there was a 5-man smoke occurring.
scanning.
They'll go for their own 5-man smoke. Not sure if they were caught under that Hawk vision, because T1 have backed off to safety. At least for now, but Lilgun are still hunting around, seeing if they can find a straggler. Outpost's going to be taken. Charge, though. Where is it going? Cuckoo, he's going to get stunned up. They'll go straight after the Beastmaster. That's a great way to start. Lilgun, they've already got a very important target down with no buyback available. They can even go for the dominated creep. I mean, why the hell not? Whoops. They'll just take it themselves.
Yeah, take the Granite Golem. They are getting a charge off. Not quite on Gabby. They know he is up top, but kind of lack the vision. So, good time for them to find that kill. Unfortunately for them, Roshan is a quick timer. Oh, yeah, he does manage to bail out. Rosh in 20. Does mean that T1 will at least have Cuckoo up, but they're going to need some Hawks out. They do not have vision over the Rosh, and that's the scary part for T1. Again, that Roshan's going to be the pivotal tool for Lilgun to pierce high ground, and T1 cannot afford to give that one away. Lilgun already having so many wards watching over that pit area. Even got the Wolf to track that Rosh respawn, so they've got a lot going for them. And they know where T1's at. Like, the dominated Granite creep just shows them where they are. Does get taken back by Cuckoo, so looks like people are just trading the Overlord creeps here, Mike. Just using that tool to take it away from the other side.
Yeah, who needs Chen versus Enchantress, right? When you've just got Helm of the Overlord from both teams. Well, Roshan is going down here, Lilgun. But they might just be able to take this one for free as T1 either don't know this is happening or don't feel confident enough to try and fight into it. I'd say either reason would be quite fair of them. So 11's going to take the shard away. So you do have that Nether Strike with the 4-second break now, and that's going to be quite detrimental. At least for Gabby on that Morphling. Break's not going to feel very nice whatsoever. I think Lilgun now, because it's about time we see if they can actually go high ground, but before that they'll try to force a fight. Whitemon is going to get spotted, but does get the stun in time. Meanwhile, Carl, he'll just deal with the bot lane split push as Whitemon will try to TP in time, and he does make it out. Oh, Sanctity, had he kept walking, would have been able to cancel that one off, but misses out completely, and well, that's going to give T1 even more time.
Yeah, it's time they desperately need. Look at Gabby's net worth. He has managed to catch up towards 423, and the rest of the course aren't too far ahead to be, you know, all things considered. Just about 1,000 gold above Gabby. So, the BKB is already out for a Morphling. He's going to feel a lot safer up against that OD, and that's where things might get a little bit dicey for Lilgun. However, Lilgun are very close to the Ags up on 11. He did buy out his own BKB instead, so never mind that. He's shifted gears. If he did have the Ags, having the charge through that BKB, through that spell immunity would have been massive in terms of controlling Gabby in the middle of these fights. But it's also tough for the Lincoln sub. And it turns out T1 can go for the smoke play with that BKB on Gabby up.
T1 gonna move in. Oh, who are we gonna find first? Sanctity around, that'd be the target you want to go on, but he has an Aegis and BKB available, so it's not going to be an easy target to try and burst down, so instead, they'll go on to Ace 12, release Gabby will. In the meantime, though, Carl, he got caught out. Sanctity's going to take him down, as somehow Ace 12 has made his own way out, and now the Nether Strike, it's coming onto Gabby. He has forced the waveform away. He knows he can't fight right now, even the Astral is there on Whitemon. They'll find a second. And Ace 12, I mean, they chased him down for a very long time. Barely ends up dying as Zephyr is barely able to get out, but Lilgun, they are still all over T1.
Still finding the angles. Carl tried to get a very aggressive zip forward. The Inkswell did manage to bail out Sanctity. And you just have to respect that control. He didn't manage to zip or walk out in time from the range. And he maybe overcommitted. So now the last outer tower here falls for T1. Lilgun have a massive opening in terms of just taking high ground if they want to. They will back off for now. They're not really going to go too aggressive. Maybe they just want that key pick off on Gabby. He does manage to dodge out. No charge coming through. So he is going to be safe. And for T1, this is where it really gets on the line. They have to prevent any sort of moves onto the high ground.
Carl's going to try and go into 4-2-3. Double damage is there, Carl. He'll go for the Vortex to try and steal that away as he does bottle it up. 4-2-3 is still alive, but eventually is going to drop, and he does. So the charge in 11 will try and get the Storm Spirit once again, and the bash comes through. Oh, he gets the perfect time bash. His Meteor Hammer will be there, but the Fire Blast is going to put a cancel to that as Cuckoo is going to try and fly back along with Gabby. Charges out though Cuckoo. He will drop Gabby. He'll morph and try to charge back the other way onto the supports, but Gabby's going to try and man-fight Sanctity now. There's your Aegis gone. Gabby, he's got that Lincoln's broken. Meanwhile, Zephyr, BKB TP, but the charge is there. Great charge out from 11. That'll be Zephyr. He'll be the third to fall for T1. And I guess on the bright side, they do at least get the kill into the Lycan. But that's about all they get here for T1.
It's just not enough to stem the bleeding when you lose Carl for that, when you lose Cuckoo for that. Gabby is building up because he's surviving through it. He's just not geared enough, and 11's going all in here.
Yeah, I mean, 11's even got the Fey Grenade to cancel off the Lincolns into the Cookie now. There's no way they get this. How lucky can 11 get? The charge, it won't land. Gabby gets the TP off as 11. Does not get the hit in time. And I don't believe it was a bash anyway, so it shouldn't have cancelled. Still Lilgun. I mean, they are really continuing this aggression. You just love to see it.
21 to 8, 14k lead. Carl trying to go for a play.
Oh, you've got to be more careful than that, Carl. Barely gets out with his life intact. It's very low on mana. 14k net worth deficit, John. T1. They are holding on. You've got to give them that credit. Gabby is somewhat close now to the Eye of Skadi, at least having an ultimate orb already up. I don't think the Eye of Skadi is really going to make the change that they're looking for, but they are still holding on as they do go for the 5-man smoke up now.
They need to find something from this. They need to be able to get a good jump in with Carl and a good roar follow-up. In a good position for that, though. Lilgun do not have vision in that top jungle, so going in from here could be a good angle.
Certainly could be. Sanctity, he is showing. Meteor Hammer going to be there. Wymon, though, is in with the Fire Blast. The charge is out. 11 trying to protect the Sanctity. He is already gone. A great start for T1. 4-2-3, though, still wants to fight. Gabby is having free reign, however, on this Morphling. They do take down Ace 12, and now they've got the Lycan. 4-2-3 is going to try to back as Wymon will finally die, but 4-2-3 cannot help in any of this. He just needs to get out. They will keep trying to chase down more. Gabby's still charging across the map, going for 11, it seems like. How the tables have turned here on 11. But he'll go for the Shadow Blade and is going to be able to make it out. That's one of the first successful team fights I think we've seen from T1 this game one.
And he punished the greed coming out there from Sanctity. He was going for the imprisonment onto the creep with a Meteor Hammer to blow up the dominated creep. And you can't really play that greedy. They are trying to go for the mid tier 1, but the defense is still coming through from Lilgun, stalling it out as much as possible. Not too long for the respawns left. They'll still find the tower, but they're not going to find more beyond that. So T1's not able to make too much progress on the map. That is still a good turnaround for them. Gabby now, #1 in net worth. And I think the Skadi, it's not going to do much in terms of the healing reduction and the slow, but the stats it'll give our Morphling will allow him to survive through, especially from that Sanity's Eclipse. Not Sanctity's Eclipse, although it is his. But having the Sanity's Eclipse, you know, you have more int, you have more mana, so the differential, it's not going to be as big, it's not going to be as much damage to nuke him down. I think that's the important aspect of that for T1. Still, Lilgun going to be smoking up. They know that Roar was expended. It doesn't take too long for that to be back up. But no Exorcism in the next fight. You just want to find a nice pick-off. T1 playing their cards right, though. They just back off. They've got a lot of Hawk Vision. They know when something's up. So they'll play it safe. And again, all of these fights have been breaking out so far away from T1's towers that even if Lilgun finds a win, they're not able to make it to the high ground. So even if you're taking losses on T1, you're not losing high ground. You still have a lot of space to play. You can still work the lanes with your Beastmaster, with your Storm, and get some farming space out here. I think that's where Lilgun's falling a bit flat, Mike. They need to siege. They need to find a way to pierce high ground, force a fight close there, and just start taking some objectives to really choke T1 out.
T1. Biding their time. Just trying to let Gabby get that Skadi up. Look at Carl, he's going for that Lincoln Sphere now on that Storm Spirit, so just wanting that added protection against that Spirit Breaker. We are finally seeing 11 going for that Aghanim Scepter build up now, and that's when things get even more ridiculous when you're going up against that Breaker. Gabby not really having the same luxury right now on the Morphling. Does have to go for some more serious items before he can even think about the Ags. Even scarier though, Scythe the Vice now available on Sanctity, and I think that's going to be very detrimental. You haven't got a BKB on Carl. Again, you have the Lincolns, but they found easy ways to break through the Lincolns this game. Especially with that Fey grenade out from 11. In fact, never mind 11, who else is holding it? Nobody's holding it. Never mind. No Fey grenade for anyone here for Lilgun. It's like 11 can't resist the Spider Legs, of course. It is a Spirit Breaker after all. How could you? Might be a fight to break out though. Whitemon is going to move in. Fire Blast is out onto Kishka. Zip it from Carl. Sanctity though is there with the Astral to save as now the Soulbind is committed onto T1. It's a lot of damage already flying out. Whitemon's gone. Where's 11 though? He hasn't charged quite yet. He's still being very patient as Zephyr is just trying to survive with the BKB up. He will just try and retreat and back his way out. The T1, they are sticking around, but it's still very dangerous when you don't know where the Spirit Breaker is, and Cuckoo is finally going to get caught out now by 11. Even with the Lincoln Sphere, they just don't care. They will take him out, no issue, as Gabby has his Lincolns broken. Another Bashes will fly through. He's going to run while the BKB is still going, because they have the Scythe the Vice out. Gabby is going to wait for back towards the base, but is still in big danger. Bashes are flying at 11. How lucky can you get? It's a 2 bash out, and that'll be enough, Gabby. He is going to drop to the Spirit Breaker. And it's onto the tier 3 top tower. Even with Roshan available, you'd rather secure racks first. Maybe even 2, considering buyback is not there for the Morphling.
And that's big. We were talking about all of these fights being away from the towers. Lilgun rectify that now, just run up to the high ground, take the objectives they need. Fortify popped really early as well. There was no creep wave around to clear out what a Fortify hits. So the next creep wave is going to be able to make it true, but they already found melee racks, and this is where Lilgun can shift their focus onto that Roach. Roach number 3 does have a free refresh as well, so that could be massive in Sanctity. Double Hex coming out outside of Soulbind, double Sanity's Eclipse as well, and T1 without Gabby around. This is all going to be on Carl if he can find that moment, but they don't have the vision to deal with Roach. They are sending out the Hawk. It's going to be a bit too late here, Mike.
Cheese is available. Refresher shard for Sanctity going to be very annoying. We talked about 2 hexes out, John. With the Soulbind, we're talking 4 hexes. So it's even scarier now against Sanctity's OD. Especially if he has those double Sanity's Eclipse. Could be very scary. It's just so much damage as Carl. Feeling confident with the Lincolns to jump in. Still, they have found the Grimstroke, but Whitemon, he's the actual target. Sanctity will just chase him down and just claim a very easy kill onto the Ogre. Whitemon without buyback, though, may allow a high ground push here from Lilgun.
You don't have Fortify for quite some time. Carl is doing a good job of clearing out the creep waves, so it is a bit tough to progress. You're going to have to use the creep wave up top to break that backdoor defense, and they will. Into the high ground they go. Towers just melt with the output right now from 423. Smoke from T1 though. They could find a good angle to break the fight off. They could get the start.
They have thrown everything at the like, but the Sanity is rather Eclipse is there, and now the Soulbind into. Oh, actually, Sanctity is gone. Lincoln's broken on Gabby, but they're looking to fight back as the charge will go through onto Carl. They've got Ace 12 down to boot. Still, Gabby has been controlled now. The Scythe the Vice out onto Carl. They really want the Storm Sprint, and they've got him. Double hammer drop, and now the kisses out. Gabby is forced to go back to the fountain as Kishka is still going in. Onto Zephyr. There's your charge out. 11's got another kill for himself. Can they keep going? It seems like they should be able to. They are slowly being chipped away at, though, as 11 is dropping low now. Keep in mind, he does have the cheese up. We'll go through the reset. Still dropping low to Gabby's damage up, but Kishka has jumped in. Still Gabby now. Hex is out. They do Fire Blast up Sanctity, but he's still looking for the man fight as Carl does move back in. They've got the OD down. They've got Kishka down, and it does seem like Lilgun have gone too far this time around.
And they overstayed their welcome. They already blew Aegis in the earlier part of that fight, but they take the entire mid racks. They clean up the top range racks with just the creep wave shoving in. Now T1 only has 1 set of objectives left outside of their Ancient, and that's going to put them in a pretty tough spot. They can't really play for Roche. That's still going to respawn in 5.5 minutes. We'll see the timer. So all they can really do is try to fix the lanes, maybe go for a tier 2 tower if they go fast enough, but they can't really risk it. They bought back on Carl to get that defense off, Mike. If Carl gets caught out in the next fight, And that's going to open up the end game there for Lilgun. You can't afford to take that risk. Lilgun respawns aren't too far off as well. They will bleed maybe to mid-tier 2. Not the biggest objective to lose, as they're not going to lose anything on top of it. I think that's going to be enough for Lilgun to still stay confident here. It is going to be a bit tough without the security of an Aegis onto the high ground. We are still seeing T1 find some good fights, and we've got to be cautious about bleeding out more here while the respawns are coming in.
Yeah, Ace12 going to be targeted as the Aeon Disc is going to be popped with Gabby. He wants more than that. Ace12 still in big trouble, does break the Lincolns, but is going to drop as now the charge is coming through. Gabby going to be targeted. He has help around, but the buybacks are going to fly in. Still Gabby, he'll waveform out of there and does morph into the breaker form. Looking to get out, but the charge, it does connect into the cookie. Now Gabby, he's going to get ink swallowed up, and he is gone. Oh, he's got no buyback either, and they found Whitemon. Make it 3, they've got Cuckoo. They have got the Beastmaster. A 3 for nothing. And I think that'll be the mega creeps to come out now for Lilgun.
That should be it. 11 not done. Find Zephyr.
Certainly not done yet. Zephyr, BKB's up. Will abuse the spider legs, but so will 11. And there's the charge away. Immediate buyback from Whitemon, but it's a 2v5 scenario. It's Carl and Whitemon versus the world here. Carl. Side device up. Sanctity does not want this split pushing happening. Charges there as well. Carl's in big trouble as the bash does come through into the hammer drop. Carl is still going to zip away and go for the TP. And he is somehow going to make it out. He has bought a little bit of time without a creep wave here, but it won't matter because the creep wave in the mid lane is already in the base of the Dire. So Carl has to fight. He'll try to go onto the Grimstroke, but it's all by himself as Carl does have his Lincoln broken and is forced to just back to the fountain. Onto the tier 4s we go. Another charge out onto Whitemon into the fountain. But they're onto the tier 4 towers now. Lilgun just looking so strong this game, number 1. T1, while they are still trying, when you've got these constant charges to come in from 11, it's kind of impossible to try for the defense. They kill off Ace12, but it means nothing. GG's called. T1 will drop game number 1. And Lilgun, well, like you said, John, with this draft, they were very confident and they make it look easy.
They make it work for themselves. I mean, it's the Lilgun special. They had Spirit Breaker, they had OD, they had Grimstroke Lycan. This is a textbook Lilgun draft, and I'm surprised T1 let them get away with that. They just ban out the Brood, ban out the TA. But again, with Lilgun, it's a choose your poison kind of thing. You got to break the foundations of what Lilgun love to play around. You got to take out that Grimstroke. You got to take out the Lycan. How much are you willing to ban up against them? And I think T1 are going to have to adjust by that second game. We'll see if they can, but Lilgun are looking strong. And T1, again, they were off on a rocky start getting a draw with Execration. They're going to need a draw here if they want to kind of stay middle of the pack, Mike. We are almost at the halfway point, so every game's counting for them.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a bit of an awkward time here for T1, but we'll see what they do in game number 2. I'm sure with some draft changes, we'll be seeing the T1 we're used to, as we are going to head to a very short 10-minute break, and right after that 10-minute break, we'll be back with game 2 between Lilgun and T1. We'll see you then.